Okay, well, welcome everyone to our PMI Montgomery County May virtual lunch and learn. Apologies for the delayed start a bit. And everybody can see slides, so we should be good there. Okay. Okay, for those who weren't with us last Wednesday at our chapter dinner, we have a long time tradition throughout our 21-year history of giving scholarships to graduating high school seniors. So congratulations to our winners from Walter Johnson High School and Winston Churchill High School. And the cool thing about this year was that both the winners were family members of the chapter. So $1,500 doesn't go as far as it used to, but it still makes a difference. And for those who are free this weekend, uh, another great tradition we have in Montgomery County is the Gaithersburg Book Festival right down in Bower Park. And that'll be Saturday, hopefully yesterday, and Wednesday, the rain got out of the way. So great opportunity to meet lifelong readers and maybe pick up another book or two tomorrow. Okay, next Thursday, we're going to continue our Lunch and Learn series with our friends from Flatter Inc. and the Flatter Leadership Academy. There's been a lot of great work in AI and natural language processing within the coaching space, and they have some great software to add different identities to AI avatar personas. They use it for coaching training. So their coaches who go through their coaching curriculum and academy get presented a scenario situation and basically converse with AI avatar, and it breaks down the grading, what they could have done better based on their coaching academic criteria. But if you look at the technology, really the sky's the limit. So I think it's just shows how far we've come. And then there's even the opportunity or the conversation where if the technology is that good, do we need human coaches anymore? Do we, as IT professionals and different project management professionals, just work with AI on bettering ourselves? And do we need that human element? So that'll be an engaging discussion next Thursday at the same time. And then our next monthly chapter meeting, thanks to our Vice President of Programs, Bill Ziegler, who's on the line, co-Vice President of Programs, will be Wednesday, June 3rd. So 2 Wednesdays after the Memorial Day holiday. And Bill, did you want to speak about that a little bit?
Sure. Our speaker is the Director of Program Management, the program manager that built the Sphere. He was in charge of building the Sphere in Las Vegas, and actually is in charge of building the Sphere, the new one they're putting in at National Harbor. Um, he's This is going to be a virtual presentation from him. He's actually in Florida, and won't be attending the meeting in person. I think it's probably the first time we've done that, other than presentation, other um, when we've had virtual showcases and stuff. But this is the first virtual dinner speaker we've had, um, and should be a good lessons learned on how they built this fair and got it this amazing venue that they've built out there in Las Vegas.
Yep. And with the National Harbor one in some degree of discussion, we're hoping to have somebody from PG County or the construction group there. So stay tuned for that.
Yeah, I'm
And
still waiting to hear back from Chris as to whether he's got somebody up here that can do that.
yep. And before the presentation, we'll use AI to replace the eye on the spear with the Montgomery County logo. So more to come. Okay. One of our chapter members is a part of Cavernius Malformation Cure charity that puts on an annual golf tournament. So stay tuned to that in the newsletter. That'll be the week after our chapter event. All of our members have been doing great things in terms of certifying new project managers in the industry, are still looking at the PMP as at least the initial jump off point. Maybe not the gold standard that it used to be in the earlier part of the century, but still important. And as we learned earlier this year with the PMBOK version 8, the PMBOK only is a portion of the actual PMP exam, and the exam is more how project management is being done, subjective as that may sound. And then the CAPM and the CPM AI. CPM AI is the latest certification that PMI brought last year with the green project management certification. So we have 7 in the chapter, but that number is growing every month. Okay, our presentation today will be shared on our chapter YouTube channel. We're one of the few chapters in global landscape that puts the majority of our content on our chapter YouTube channel. And there's claim codes for those as well. So if you're looking for topics with our website reengineering, we will have if you're looking for a certain topic, you'll be able to pull those slides and that YouTube recording going forward. So that'll be coming this summer. Our sister chapters, PMI WDC, has their monthly chapter meeting next Wednesday at the American University campus. That'll be focused on the execution discipline. PMI Baltimore has their event the Wednesday after the Memorial Day holiday, and that'll be kind of adapting from lessons learned from the Department of War and the Marine Corps in terms of how project success goes through their wickets and standards. Those are both in person without virtual options, but if you're free, great events to go to. And PMI Silver Spring recently elected new leaders, so they're getting after their program schedule, and I think focus on giving the best symposium they can later this year. But stay tuned for their events. Okay, for those who don't know me, I've had the privilege and honor of serving as your chapter president for the last near 2 years, and backed by, you don't have to be expert in project management to be a servant leader in the professional association space, but with 25 years of federal IT and digital transformation behind me, I think I've at least seen different ways of doing things. The way I do things isn't necessarily going to work for everybody. Sometimes it doesn't even work for me, but there's that opportunity to kind of just look at things through another lens, and that's what I'm hoping to deliver today. So this isn't necessarily doesn't have to be looked at as like the one all be all roadmap, but just like all of our content that we deliver to you on a monthly basis, just another way of looking at things, thinking about things. And today we'll be covering the evolving PM Toolkit, working smarter without the overload. I have sat through a lot of AI presentations since we kind of had that 2022 boom with OpenAI and ChatGPT. And that's really not that much time that's gone on, but just in those nearly 4 years, look at how much commonplace this is. So if we take the technology standards that we have right now and then look 4 years in the future, that's where the futurists talk about uh, 3-day work weeks and universal basic income in the next 10 to 15 years. Uh, I'm not necessarily convinced of that, but if we just look at the last 3 years since kind of ChatGPT grew on the scene, and then all the tech rivals of OpenAI and Microsoft and Google and X and Grok competed, and then all the companies that may not have billion-dollar backing but are working on more niche, large learning models and AI solutions that could deliver more value than we're getting every day from the Gen AI tools. So, what does all that really mean for us, and how can we use things? So, I think the bigger issue at hand right now is that there's three pressures that come from that. So there's a tool overload of, as we have on the slide, uh, too many apps. They don't necessarily integrate. Even within my world of Department of War IT, we've always talked about a vision where uh, it doesn't matter what system or platform you're using, it'll look the same to everybody. And that's where like design thinking and design systems go. Of you don't know if you're being transferred from one platform to another. Your user interface, user experience looks the same. Like USAA is a good example of that. Like USAA is Salesforce powered and Salesforce fueled, but you don't know it based on being on the native app on your phone or the progressive web app online, because it just looks like a USA interface. I think that's where we need to go, but right now there's so many different uh, logins and uh, ways of doing things that depend on each other but don't provide that seamless experience. So my hope for the future is that we do have seamless experiences going forward. Whether or not getting out of the username and password, I think we've seen a big boom in two-factor authentication recently, which is good and bad. But as we go forward, hopefully there's less tools and not more. But right now, we just have a lot of tools to navigate. And then because of those tools, you have expectation overload. There's all these ways of doing things easier. So a lot of our leaders in the C-suite and more at the supervisory middle management level are like, well, this should be easy. Why aren't you getting things done quicker? So that comes back with the kind of what we see there of being more strategic, be more tactical, be more technical. Nobody's born technical. I think you need a curiosity to learn and some degree of aptitude for it that just doesn't look like a foreign language. But even foreign languages, many can master by a show of hands or people coming off mute. How many different language proficiencies do we have on the call today?
Just English for me.
Okay. And Miss Newman raised her hand. So uh, we all can learn another language, but and with the different language apps and the gamification of it, it's probably never been easier to learn another language. But where's the time and is there ROI from that? So with all the new tools and things that come out of, like, we can't all become subject matter experts on everything. Every once in a while, you'll see somebody with like 40 or 50 certifications. Have they really mastered anything? Or are they just good at taking tests and can align their focus to every few months pivot to something else. I myself think of myself more as a jack of all trades, master of none. So I get that to some extent, but if you know a little about a lot, you don't know a lot about a little. So, and then the third would just be AI overload. There's some people who still have trust issues with the bias or where's this information going? Uh, should they use it? I think we're at a point now where if you don't at least embrace it, you're going to be on the outside looking in sooner than later. But uh, if everybody had truth serum and you asked, do you really trust it? Do you have concerns of where your data is going? People would be transparent and have some concerns there. So right now, with kind of those three groupings of issues and pressures, a lot of the burdens that we see right now are the tool overload and the fragmentation. There's so many things to use. What do I use to perform this test better than that? And we'll go into that a little bit in today's presentation. The expectation overload, the AI integration fatigue, outcomes beyond delivery of like what's expected from a hiring manager perspective and entrepreneur or C-suite. Is there enough talent out there right now to cover all the gaps we have? Like there's a thought that in the future AI is going to take jobs, but I don't think we're quite there yet in terms of every company. But we'll go into some job loss numbers a little bit too, and then just the emotional burnout of life has never been easier to learn things than right now in 2026. But with that pressure comes a burnout, especially even in my own PMP journey. Like I failed the first time. And I think when you have like, you put so much into like a proctored exam, you don't pass. It's hard to get back on the horse to seize that challenge the next time. A lot of people in our industry of program and project management will not have success with an exam and then never go back just because of that burnout and that emotional letdown. They put everything into it, a boot camp all the time, and then you click submit, it comes back. Unfortunately, like you didn't meet the requirements. It's hard to get back in that headspace to get back there. Does anybody on the call want to share any burnout, either through an anecdotal example that they've felt themselves or something they've observed from a colleague?
Sure, Matt. This is Wendy. I know that I was fortunate enough to pass the PMP the first time.
Great job.
However, when I did attempt the Agile certification, so the ACP, I did everything, and I thought, I passed the PMP. I'm going to pass the ACP the first time, and Agile was just harder for me to embrace, and so I did not pass the exam, and so you described it perfectly as far as, yeah, you hit the click submit and you fail the exam and you're like, how many months did I spend? And then that kind of postpartum sets in as far as, do I set myself up for success or am I going to fail again? So I never passed the ACP, but I may now attempt it again. There's that grieving period that I experienced. So.
Yeah, it's tough because like, are you, I mean, the old adage of if you don't have time to do it right, when are you going to have time to do it over? I think that I learned that more from just submitting deliverables and then having to redo things. But like you put so much time into one goal, if it doesn't work out, like, do you have that time and energy to go back to it? But Ingrid, you had your hand up?
Yep. So I want to echo what you just shared about the also the exam. I can identify with your experience, Matt. I didn't pass the first time, but I remember during my first boot camp, I had a fantastic instructor, and he said, "Please remember that this is not an IQ test. So it does not measure your intelligence. You just have to try to find a different strategy and keep going." And that actually, when I hear other, like my coworkers, when they're trying to do the PMP exam, I can be more empathetic with that. And I just kind of repeat the same phrase. I like, don't take it personal. Just it is what it is. We just have to get going. And that is very applicable to all the projects and challenges that we manage every day.
Definitely. That resilience is important. We had a question on chat about why two-factor authentications is a concern. I think from a security perspective, it's good. From a convenience perspective, it's not. One example, just within our association is a local PMI chapter with the mass mailings and everything else. You can only have like one two-factor authentication. So I'll get codes texted or called to me, and then I have to get pass it on to a board member that's actually trying to log in and things of that nature. So I just think that in some shared workspaces, two-factor authentication is inconvenience. It's still good and important because at least then we don't have, your membership data hacked or violated for any data breaches, but it does make work more difficult. And then if you're in a secure environment and don't have access to your phone, sometimes that's been difficult. And I think most solutions are working around that with, like, you can create like a permanent pass key if you don't have access to your phone and things of that nature, but there's still some drawbacks with two-factor. But thank you for the question.
Thanks for the explanation.
Yep. Wendy, is that a new hand or an old hand?
A new hand. So
Great.
When you talk about multi-factor authentication, I think there's emerging risk where they do voice activation, like my 401k is with Fidelity, and now they want either you to record your voice for authenticity in addition to your PIN or what have you. And because AI can imitate your voice, it's becoming a risk. So I think that's evolving right now with some companies that do use your voice activation as multi-factor. I don't know if you've come across that or not.
A little bit, but yeah, look into it more. And then even like the facial stuff, like they need to blink or it has to have some movement, so it doesn't look like it's like a deep fake, and it's concerning. But I think in that kind of identity and access management, we're going to continue to see things evolve and respond to identity thefts and breaches. But we only know what can be breached. So as that kind of advances, they'll retroactively probably fix things. But it's alarming, but okay.
Thank you.
Yep. So as we look kind of at the expanding universe of all these tools, and especially in our project management space, there's, in preparing for this, there's over 1,000 project management tools, from hybrid to old school waterfall to agile, that can be used. And this is including customized access databases to fully enterprise suite solutions that cost hundreds of thousands of dollars for even a small business. And we're seeing more adoption at a growing rate annually, that's really moving us to cloud-based and integrated platforms. Like every once in a while, you'll see like something that's a dressed up macro-enabled Excel worksheet, but we're seeing less and less of those over time. Can they still work? Sure, depending on the need that you have. But I think what you really need to ask is whatever solution you're using or paying for on a recurring basis, is it scalable? Can you easily integrate it? And is it intuitive? And in terms of integration, we see all the time, there'll be a scheduling program, portfolio, project scheduling solution. And the first questions are, well, can it import Microsoft project files? So we're still kind of in that Microsoft project lens. In terms of where Microsoft is with it, project online, so going through like Office 365 and accessing project and Gantt charts being available via web browser, that's ending at the end of September of this year. Project Desktop, so if you have it installed on your computer, either old version or the newest updated version, that'll still be supported and modernized by Microsoft with updates and patches and things of that nature. And then they're still going to honor Project Server subscriptions for internal Office solutions until 2031 at minimum. But from a show of hands, who is still using Microsoft Project for any type of Gantt chart or a baseline schedule? Okay, we don't have any hands up, so I think that's telling a little bit. There's been a big movement within our industry and community that Microsoft Planner is taking over Microsoft Project. The Microsoft Planner that most of us have access to in the federal government or the government services space is just a Kanban, basically, of a virtual task board and keeping track of things like that. I think that's good for action items, but that's not a baselineable schedule. Microsoft heard that. They came out with Microsoft Planner Premium, which is on top of what you have access to in Microsoft Teams and that nature as an add-on that actually has those dependencies, the critical paths, the customization that you can baseline the schedule and work from there. And then anything Microsoft right now has the advance with Copilot or rewrite with Copilot, which I'm a big fan of, but I know some people think it makes more problems than it's worth. In terms of the value of Copilot, like this is a good example where you're using Microsoft Planner Premium, you have your marketing plan, and it can, based off of what you put in, it can enhance it. So if you look at using embedded AI within the applications that you use as an enhancement, that makes more sense than create from scratch, because the information they're going to need to create from scratch, you may not have all those answers. And then in terms of what a baseline schedule in Microsoft Planner could look like with the AI, going back to Microsoft Project, 5 or 10 years ago, you'd have to have a report or create a dashboard to give those insights through Planner and just all the AI inclusion that's in the overall Microsoft suite now. Like it gives you all those analyses up front just based on the data you put in. So I think Microsoft still is going to be a leader in the project management, project thinking space. It's just going to be different from that Gantt chart line of thinking, but based on our audience today and not using that so much anymore and evolving to other solutions, I think the it's good they still have it, but it's probably not looked at from the Microsoft C-suite as something beneficial to long-term success and revenue. And then alternatives right now, Monday with their work management, and we'll get into the difference between project management and other types of management. Here, next slide. ClickUp is used a lot, especially in industry versus government services. Adobe's entered the space with Workfront. Oracle's still in this space with Primavera. I discussed something similar last month, and there was 5 or 6 out of 30 attendees that still use Primavera. Jira is still popular, especially with straight agile development. And then a lot of our software as a service offerings, like ServiceNow, they have strategic portfolio management modules that have all the program and project tracking built in. And Smartsheet is also used as a complement. Does anybody use any tools that's not on this list that they want to put in chat or come off mute? Well, if you think of any, please put in chat. I think a lot of creep goes into project management now. Like if we look at the definition of the project, even the new definition that came out in version 8 of the PMBOK is it's still temporary and finite. It's not operations. It's not how you do things every day. So a solution for that should really be focused more on scope, schedule, budget, and the risks that comes with that. So that's why you still have Microsoft in the space, Oracle in the space. When you look at work management, so can work management and project management be the same? Depending on how you look at it, but work management tools like Monday.com and ClickUp and Asana are more kind of on that repeatability and the reoccurring operational work instead of something that's more temporary and has a definitive start and an end. And then when we look at task management, that's your Google Tasks, your Microsoft To Do. Could you use a work management tool or a project management tool for task management? Sure, but it's not necessarily a using the tool the best way it can be used. And I see it a lot in my world within federal digital transformation, but so many people wait for the tool to work exactly as it should, or they'll use ServiceNow and run into a hiccup and be like, that doesn't work. But if my kind of analogy for that is if you look at it from like a culinary perspective, a good chef doesn't wait for perfect ingredients. They create perfection from what's in front of them. Any Chopped fans, even though it's not as popular as it probably was a decade ago, like you open up a basket, you have 4 ingredients that you need to weave in, and you have to work within those 4 ingredients. Like if we looked at software like that, of making the best of it, I think we'd be better off than our kind of failure to launch that we see a lot, and waiting for something to work exactly how we need it to instead of just working with what we have. In terms of where we stand with the workforce right now, just in 2026 alone, it seems like every week there's a report of mass layoffs, but Oracle laid off 30,000 earlier this year. Amazon's, I think, up to 20,000. Meta's having layoffs. Square and Block are having layoffs. And there's less hiring announcements based on the labor statistics tidbit we have here to replace those jobs. For those in the federal workspace, myself included, 2025 was a stressful year. Up until that point, I mean, depending on the agency that you work, no job was guaranteed, but it was more performance based if you were working yourself out of a job, not just a RIF type number that we saw last year. My take on it was that the federal government had it pretty good for a while. Every other industry has to look at RIFs and percentage layoffs. So if this is just a new normal, it's unfortunate, but I think 2026 has at least seen a little bit of uptake in federal employment, and there's starting to be some hiring booms this summer, and USA Staffing and USA Jobs are starting to post more. But if we kind of look at the bumper sticker here of uncertainty, pressure, and shrinking resources is the new normal, there's definitely an argument for that. And then one tidbit I got from one of the federal CIOs, Mr. Francisco Salguero, was there's no such thing as doing more with less anymore. You just do what you can with what you have. And I think that's a good analogy of where we are right now in terms of, I don't think those numbers are going to go back to 2024 federal numbers and all the people that we lost with the deferred resignation program. That manpower isn't going to be restored, whether or not it's for every 5 positions lost, there'll be one replacement. It's subjective across basically the entire workforce, but we need to get used to utilizing tools to make up for reduced manpower. I mentioned the PMBOK version 8 earlier. I had the pleasure of having a fireside chat with the chair of the PMBOK committee for version 8. And one of the biggest differences was they went from 20 plus principles down to 6. But if you really look at going back to doing more with less within these 6 principles of adapting a holistic view, look at everything, not just from your smaller silo, but from a larger big picture perspective. It's easy just to focus on our piece of the pie and not the entire pie, but just continue to challenge yourself on that. If we look at everything through a value-based lens, and if there's not value there, why are we doing it? Or can we add value to something? Embedding quality, Marcus Parker, our March speaker, really drove home why quality management still matters, even in the advanced digital age that we're in. Lead with accountability, regardless of where you are in the RACI matrix. Take that accountability. There can only be one A, but you can help and be of value to the person that is that A if it isn't you. And then integrate sustainability. If you don't think the solution is going to work 5 years from now, does it make sense to do? Sometimes it's a short-term win, and that does make sense. But if you do have concerns, is there a solution out there that can be more sustainable and integratable for 5 years down the road, 10 years down the road? And be part of the culture. I know culture is a negative buzzword right now of that maybe industries put too much on a healthy culture, but I'm still a big believer in it. John Maxwell came out with the 360-degree leader book in 2005, so 21 years ago. But that really gave a roadmap for how you can be a leader in your organization, regardless of what title you have or how high up the food chain you are. So every team member, every person in the organization can be a part of a culture. Even in our PMI chapter, like, you don't have to be a board member to be a part of the culture. Many of you on the call add to the culture just by welcoming new members and engaging new faces at the chapter meetings, and that goes a long way. And really, so challenge yourself of, if you don't think a culture is good, don't just write it off as a toxic work environment and pack your bag. Challenge yourself to be a part of what can make that better. And in terms of kind of looking at, and this is from the PMBOK, but looking at what still needs a human in the loop, what should be human led, and what should be fully automated and not bothered to be done by human capital. This is a good kind of depiction of that, where in automation, we shouldn't be spending a lot of time making reports off of raw data. Like, we should be using the AI tools that we have to summarize that data, do trends, and then look at that part of it, but not putting together the report that we did, 10 or 15 years ago. And with task management, the same thing. I mean, people need to know what's expected of them. So that comes from leadership and a human in the loop. But once that's been established, using automation for those tasks, and some can even be repeatable through bots and things of that technology. Where the human in the loop is still a part of the solution, comes more with planning, with risk assessment, with scheduling. Like, the more data you give AI model, use PMI Infinity, anything else, the better answer you're going to get. But there still needs to be that human in the loop monitoring, and it's not, schedule management at this point in time isn't going to be 100% automated. And then where the human still needs to lead is with the brainstorming, with the ideation, with identifying risks. You can put schedules and deliverables and SOPs into a Gen AI model and say, where are the risks of this? But the human really needs to lead that in terms of, is this a risk that you want to mitigate? Is this a risk that you want to accept? Is this a risk you want to avoid? And then stakeholder matrices in AI can really be benefited by as much information, even kind of attributable personality traits of those stakeholders. But you understand the people you work with more than LLM will be able to. So unless you overload with a bunch of information about that person, but that's still subjective because that's just what you see in a meeting. You could say this person is very temperamental, but maybe they were just passionate about one subject. So I think that human augmentation for that's in stakeholder management is still really important. Okay, if we look at what's the right AI tool to use in different times, PMI Infinity is OpenAI fueled, but it's looking at and learning from the overall PMI library. So what used to be projectmanagement.com and all those templates and presentations, and every PMI presentation that's been given in at least the modern history, PMI Infinity can pull from that. And especially with the things from the most current version of the PMBOK and even the preceding 7 versions. So when should you use PMI Infinity? If you're looking for a project charter, one second. A RACI chart, going back to stakeholder management, if you need to look at project documentation and be like, hey, where are the risks here? What's the critical path? Using PMI Infinity makes sense. Outside the project world, if you have access to PMI Infinity just with your PMI account. So if you're still paying the PMI bill as a member, regardless of what chapter you belong to, you have access to PMI Infinity as a premium type version. Microsoft Copilot's good if you're working within the Microsoft Suite or Office 365. A lot of the graphical generation in today's presentation came from Copilot. And then I've seen success with meeting minutes, action items, organizational change management, and more of that kind of marketing and advertising images. Like especially on social media, you can pick what images are used, generated by AI, because they like have the same feel for them now. But even with that, you can tell AI, like, don't make an image create an image that satisfies this criteria, but don't make it look like it was generated by AI, and it won't have like the big puffy block letters and some of that marketing that we're seeing. So working within that. Google Gemini is the only information impact level 5 within the federal government of having that data protection to use. So there's been a big GenAI.mil marketing campaign from the Department of War leadership within the past 7 to 8 months, and Gemini is the only one that is not coming soon out of that meets the security standards. But Gemini, just from an average use perspective, is good if you're looking at deep research or leveraging the Google ecosystem, Google Sheets, Google Docs, things of that nature. ChatGPT was what started all this. I think its competitors have kind of surpassed it in different ways, but for technical writing, proofing, general problem solving advice, if you're looking to create courses of action for a briefing or look at an analysis of alternatives, or if you have to create an economic analysis based on industry factors, ChatGPT is still good for that. And then DeepSeek, if you need more coding assistance or if something is more math heavy, earned value management still does exist, even though it's not as vital as it used to be. So DeepSeek's good for kind of a critical path analysis, especially if you have an IMS of over like 1,000 tasks, or if you want to do any hygiene to your data lakes. And I use Copilot kind of for this AI use scorecard, and these slides will be made available to everyone. But different scenarios and where things ranked, and it's kind of a trust but verify thing with AI right now, in terms of like if Microsoft Copilot would have given itself 5 stars for everything, like, yeah, there's obviously bias there, but the fact that like it knows with Google Workspace and those workflows, it doesn't add value because it's Microsoft. It's a 1 star. It knows that PMI Infinity is more PMBOK based. So like, but I think this is a good example. Like if you do want to do some AI investigation on your own, like ask these type of questions for this type of output, and it can help your own decision making. But this is certainly a good desktop reference. And then I'm learning the hard way. Never copy and paste without a bit of love. Meeting transcripts, even if you upload them from Microsoft Teams into Microsoft Copilot, there can still be mistakes made. It may add a cited attendee that wasn't on the call, things of that nature. And then with memos or risk registers or any real project documentation, it's great. And I'd recommend using AI to further make things easier, like the days of listening to a recording to transcribe meeting minutes and press pause after every 2 sentences are over. Some may still do it, but that's goes back to maybe not working as smart as you could right now. But make the time to give everything a once over. Agile user stories are a great thing to use AI for. I kind of came up with a 7-step process of what to look at things. But if you upload like your as is process maps, whatever documentation you do have, and then the more you put in, the better you'll get out. So you have to provide the user personas for the user stories, what your problem statement is, desired outcomes. The more you can feed it initially, but then if you ask it to create a sampling user stories, see if it's hitting the mark at all. If it is, then use those to create an acceptance criteria, and then kind of decompose the tasks from there to make sure you have everything right. But if you work hand in hand and can give like a half hour to an hour to work with things, at least this will give you a good start at user stories, and then you can go back to your requirement owners and your sponsor and stakeholders to get it there. And then if you have it in the perfect format and that's your gold standard, use that going forward. Like say, like, can you create user stories and using this document as an example or the standard that I want. So show your Gen AI model what right is, and you'll get a better or a more realistic right back. Okay, in terms of AI education, I think just for you to be on this call on a Friday afternoon shows that you're a lifelong learner. I've kind of learned never turn down an opportunity to learn more. And in the AI space, there's always something to learn. And a good book that came out earlier this year was Open to Work. It was the CEO and COO of LinkedIn. But there's a verbiage in the book of, in order to get ahead in the age of AI, you don't need to build AI, you just need to learn how to use it. So if you have that data science background and you want to build your own LLMs, we'll go into that a little bit, but just to be AI curious and to leverage the AI tools already built and available to us that we just went over in that prior table, knowing how to really leverage those can make a world of difference versus somebody who's not. For you to be on this call, I think everybody's AI curious and nobody's AI defiant, but just don't put pressure on yourself to know how to build it. It's good to know. It's good to, even if you don't build it, it's good to understand how things are built so you can better troubleshoot or discuss it, especially in terms of AI investments. And the bill's only going to get higher for organizations to use. Like right now, I think we're in kind of a renaissance area where things are going to be free and readily available. But as we've learned, things are only getting more expensive. Most of us are with streaming services, and for those of us who still pay our cable bills, those are only going up. So I think AI is as cheap as it ever will be. So understanding why things are going up in price is going to be important to understand the back end. But don't look at that as a dependency to understand that. One good analogy is you didn't learn how to read in first or second grade by picking up a medical textbook. You learned by, Dr. Seuss or young adult books, and gradually grew. So look at kind of AI proficiency more through smaller steps and not having to master everything at once. There's not really that AI gold standard for certification like a PMP, where you're not going to be taken seriously as a project or program manager or a project manager until like, oh, if you don't have a PMP, then like kind of like how we look at cyber people, if they don't have a CISSP, we may wait to hear from somebody who does. There's not that AI standard yet. I'm sure there will be in the next couple of years, definitely this decade. But right now, like there's an opportunity to take smaller steps to what your individual needs actually are. A couple of training tips though, as mentioned in the opening remarks, the CPM AI certification kind of breaks down how to manage AI projects better. It starts with business understanding, and the data understanding, and then the modeling of that. We have 7 in the chapter and growing. It is a little bit hefty of a commitment at that $700 member rate, but I think it's definitely worth the return on investment. If just for the perception that you'd have as an AI leader. Google Collab, if you do want to create real learning models in a more intuitive space, that's free just within the Google space. Amazon has SageMaker in their Studio Lab if you want to create a little bit more advanced, kind of intermediate and beyond LLMs. That's also free. And then Hugging Face sounds silly, but they have a good course library that's free with AI education classes. And then AI is great to create your own practice exams. I'm one of the people that paid for the CPM AI last year and still haven't sat for the test, but one of my preparations was just to use Copilot. I put in the 40-page glossary that came with the class and said, hey, can you create a practice exam based on this document? And the practice exam is within the Copilot app. I can do it on my desktop. I can take the practice exams on my phone. It makes it a lot easier. 20 years ago, 15 years ago, there were like testing customized solutions that you'd have to make your own tests and buy your own software. We don't need to do that anymore. So this is a good example of using AI, regardless of what the test or exam is. If you have a high school or college student, or you're a college student yourself in some shape or form, don't wait for your professor to give a quiz or a practice exam. You can take the content you already have and make your own within a few minutes, and it'll take what you're falling short on and focus on that. So, and these are all within the AI solutions we already have. A logical question is, that's great, Matt, but where's the time between family commitments and fitness commitments and faith commitments and just trying to earn the money that you get from your current job with all the pressures and deliverables that you already have? I guess my advice would be look at AI training and getting better and more proficient like you do the gym. If you haven't gone to the gym in a while, like, you start small. You're not going to sit on an elliptical or a treadmill for 2 to 3 hours and read a book. You may do 10 or 15 minutes and work your way up. Do the same type of thing with AI training, but you have to make a plan. And going back to the open to workbook that the LinkedIn executives wrote, the workers getting ahead aren't necessarily the most resource or technical. As I said before, nobody's born technical, but they're the ones who experiment before they must, not frantically, but with intention. They practice adapting before they have to, and they know that learning how to learn matters more than what you currently know. And for a few of our attendees shared proctored exam successes and shortfalls, and I think learning how to take a proctored exam and pass a test in that example, it is more important than what you know or how you can work, because that's the whole point of the test. But look at that in the lens of AI, that you don't have to be the expert on it, but as long as you don't push back, you're curious, you experiment, you learn a little bit every week, then that can really go a long way in terms of your place in the workforce going forward. In terms of, as we have about 10 minutes left, looking at real world scenarios, right now there's still a resistance to change. There is insufficient training in a way, and that goes back to our first slide of the 3 real pressures and issues of there's so much AI training. What do I take? What's good? Like, is a Coursera course worth my time? is an employer going to care about that? We're still kind of stuck in that where do we go lens, and even this presentation doesn't necessarily tell you where to go, but hopefully it at least shows where a couple of different avenues you could take. In terms of looking at continuous process improvement, Lean Six Sigma is still a thing. Using the ITIL library is still important. I think that looking at just not accepting things, even in this digital age, as the status quo, and always look at things from an as is to be model is important. So don't lose, even though you don't see as many Lean Six black belts and green belts as maybe we did 10 or 15 years ago. Still keep that mindset, even though maybe it's not as trendy as it used to be. One framework that I kind of put together based on this is in terms of the toolkit and working smarter, not harder. Go back to that. Is this a project work? Is it operational work, or is it a task? If you identify that first, that would go a long way in terms of the tool that you'll use. And then once you select the tool to use, like, go all in with it. Once you have that tool, then you can use AI to help draft things, get things in a more experimental state. Don't look at this as a final decision, but look at it as a complement to what you do. And then once you do get that initial input from a Gen AI model, customize it, tailor it for what you need it to be. And then that kind of goes in that continuous refinement of there's things to learn every week within the AI space. And even like the practice exams, like a Gen AI model wasn't delivering that seamless of a solution a year ago at this time, but it is now. There wasn't a giant bulletin that came out that said, hey, this is now a feature. But as AI models learn, just because something didn't really help you a year ago or 6 months ago, it may have learned and be in a better state to provide you complementary solutions today. So always kind of go back to that well and be like, well, is this a better help now? Don't just write it off as it didn't help me last time I tried to do this. So keep that more open mind. And one challenge as you close out this week and go into next week's holiday week would be kind of look at things from a kind of 7-day action plan over the weekend. If you come out of this presentation, regardless if you're here today or if you're joining us on demand via our YouTube channel, pick one artifact that you do use often. It could be a status report, it could be a risk register, it could be a log of some sort. Experiment with AI maybe the next day, and these are all like 10 to 15 minute tasks. See what that kind of first draft looks like out of what you're asking. Then the next day, like, look at it more from a PMBOK lens. Maybe even I wouldn't recommend just uploading the whole version 8, the 450 pages that you have access to via your PMI dashboard, but maybe a section in there and be like, can you align this artifact to these parameters or principles? And then if you do have a team, kind of open it up to that team. If you're work individually, look at it more from a more holistic perspective and not just that small demonstration. Then the next day, look at a retrospective. Did this work? What could be better? And then as you close the week, think about it more from more people using it than just you. Is it scalable? And then get into that habit of going back to it and using it. If you're in the acquisition or contractual or business development business, this is a good example of how this could kind of be utilized. Okay. Again, you're here, so I don't think anybody's living in any AI fear. But if you look at what AI can do and what they can't, I think that matters. The Open to Work book talked about one kind of challenge was pick 10 things that you do on a daily or weekly basis, and then break that down from what AI can do versus what AI can't do. So that's a good kind of personal venture. But I think AI is never going to be able to navigate politics. They're never going to be able to build trust and reliability with stakeholders, ethical decisions. They can make recommendations based on the facts they have, but actually making decisions from a leadership perspective and being accountable for those decisions. You can't be like, oh, well, PMI Infinity said I should do this, so that's why. Nobody's going to blame PMI Infinity for it. They're going to blame you for making the decision if it doesn't go right. Leading people. AI is going to continue to be a good leadership development resource, but they're not actually going to lead and inspire people. And then going back to that challenge to be a part of a positive culture, doing that. So if you look at, okay, AI can't do these things, so I'm going to upskill to be the best at these 6 examples, or if you have another 10, that makes you more competitive and kind of, if you're playing defense against AI in terms of your role and your worth, look at it from that lens. Pat McAfee recently said if somebody spends their entire existence focusing on something, there's a chance they're going to be a little bit better at it. This really hit home with me in terms of I think there's an AI bias or a AI slop negativity right now with AI, but a lot of work went into it. So we shouldn't just dismiss things as being AI. We all know that if you see something with the double hyphens, that it came from AI and was probably copy and pasted. But that doesn't mean that you necessarily dismiss it. But I think we're seeing a lot of negative sentiment about AI, and I just say I get it, but I think that because so much work was put in there, that it's still worth using. And if you take your ego out of the way and utilize the tools at your disposal, like putting a bunch of time in to create your own thing that was like Matt created and I can take ownership of, I don't think anything in the digital age is truly original anymore. So I think those days are over, and utilizing the tools that we have make more sense than creating something from scratch. So as we come up on the time forecasted, I'm happy to hang around and take questions, but thank you for this great opportunity to kind of share my insights. If you're not a member of the chapter, I think that the $20 annual dues are some of the best member benefit out of what we offer for those who either participate in person and have a chance to sign book in the thought leadership space every month that are in-person attendees, or just events like these, or but yeah, we're always focused on the members. And if you're interested in me, my link tree is here. That goes to everything in my kind of personal brand, as well as other presentations I've given. So thank you very much. This was a great honor and opportunity, and open it up for any questions or comments. Did anybody hear anything I said that they disagree with, that they'd like to have a conversation about that? Okay, hearing none. So coming out of this, you'll get an experience survey link. I love the feedback. Anonymous, of course, and this is really anonymous, but I understand people of the mindset that nothing's anonymous anymore. I wish everyone a good weekend, and thank you for your time today.